Victor.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode of Wiz Kids Forever. Before I get too deep into this video, because we got a lot to talk about today. But before I get too deep into this video, you already know what I'm going to say. Be sure to comment, be sure to like, be sure to subscribe. On the road to 3,000 subscribers, and I can't do it without your help. So you come to this channel for the most raw, uncut, and unfiltered analysis on DC sports, on your Washington Wizards, on your Washington Commanders. And if you feel like we giving you that, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. And without further ado, man, let's get into this video. To give you a timestamp as I do for all of my episodes, it's about 4 p.m. on Tuesday, June the 24th, 2025. So we're on the eve of the 2025 NBA draft, and that's where all of my focus was. To be as transparent as possible, to break that fourth wall, I was in the midst of recording a favorites for Washington to be selected at the 18th pick video, and then boom, Shams bomb. And if you're checking this out on YouTube, you already know what I'm talking about because you can see it on the screen. And the Shams bomb that I'm talking about, I told y'all in the last video where I talked about Ace Bailey trying to force his way to Washington, I said Michael Winger and Will Dawkins, they in the weeds, they moving and shaking. So I don't know. I haven't planned any content this week because I don't know what they're up to over there in DC, downtown. But we see their first order of business of the offseason with the Shams bomb that the New Orleans Pelicans are trading CJ McCollum, Kelly Olynyk, and a future second-round pick to the Washington Wizards for Jordan Poole, Saddiq Bey, and the 40th overall pick. Wow. I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for words. I'm not necessarily shocked, but it just shows like what it feels like to have a front office that finally has some foresight. I'm so used to Ernie Grunfeld and, Tommy Shepard with the prehistoric time of the way that they did their moving and dealing, even though they were in a top 7 media market and a general manager for an NBA franchise. They were running the Washington Wizards like a mom and pop's organization. And it's a complete 180 with what we have now in Michael Winger and Will Dawkins at the fold, at the helm for the Washington Wizards front office. To give you my initial reaction, because this is about what 40 minutes after the trade, so this is as instant as can get. So if I miss some thoughts, please forgive me. But I have mixed emotions. Not necessarily any negative thoughts about Michael Winger and Will Dawkins, but I love Jordan Poole as a player. I loved what he brought to Washington. And last year, there were times through the midst of the season where like he was the only exciting player and the only excitement for this organization and for this team. But with us trading CJ McCollum, who's on an expiring deal, who also has over a $30 million cap hit for this season, it seems as if Will Dawkins and Michael Winger are going big game hunting for 2026. It seems like, and I don't have any inside scoop or anything, but it seems like Taylor Youngsters might be putting a little fire under their asses to accelerate this rebuild to an extent, especially with us missing out on the top 3 pick in the 2025 draft. And if we can see what Shams reported in his follow-up tweet following the trade, he said these trade swap guards, the Wizards shifted from Poole to the veteran in McCollum, who has an expiring contract. Washington now is expected to approach $100 million in projected cap space in 2026. The Pelicans move younger, possibly more dynamic with Poole and Bey. No possibly, Shams. No possibly. At this point in their career, I'm telling you that Jordan Poole is much more dynamic than CJ McCollum. But for the Washington Wizards, this move was made with Jordan Poole in the back of their minds. I promise you that. This move was made strictly for financial purposes to clear off all of this cap space, because I believe, as we look at what Bobby Marks had on a follow-up tweet, I believe that we have $110 million in expiring contract going into the 2026-2027 season. And with some of the projected free agents going into the summer of 2026, in a Luka Doncic, in a Paolo Banchero, in a Jay Will. Now, I don't want to get my hopes up. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about in Jay Will, that's NBA champion Jalen Williams of the Oklahoma City Thunder. But I don't want to get my hopes up, because we know, like, there are organizations that have their rights right now. They have the ultimate hand. They have the ultimate hand. But the Wizards are setting themselves nicely to have a big impact in the summer of 2026 on the NBA landscape. They're setting themselves up very nicely. And like I said at the beginning of this episode, it just shows the foresight of this organization. You know, in some instances, you can have too much foresight, and like the jury's still out on the Bub Carrington to Denny Avdia trade. But I'm going to tell you right now, Bub Carrington was one of the key figures in mind for Will Dawkins when he made this trade. Just look at some of the details of it. He got Jordan Poole, who was a dynamic lead guard this year after they had him playing behind Tyus Jones. Wes Unseld Jr. got me so flustered I'm pronouncing names wrong. They had Jordan Poole playing behind Tyus Jones last year. With him coming to Washington, already being a reclamation project following, the Draymond Green saga that he had leaving out of the Golden State Warriors, they had him playing behind Tyus Jones, which completely takes his value. But as we see with the move that was made today, he was kind of able to reclaim some of that value and just reclaim some of his credibility as a basketball player. If we can remember Jordan Poole's first year, the 23-24 season in Washington, like, he was a laughing stock. People were showing, air balls that he was, throwing up on TikTok and things of that nature. They was flashing over to the baddies in the stands and talking about how he lost all his aura and things of that nature. What Jordan Poole had, I would say, was a career year in Washington last year. Now, it did come with a lot of usage, but we can also remember, like, we did tank. We did tank last year, and Jordan Poole sat out of a lot of fourth quarters. So that stat line that he put up last year with over, 22 points per game and things of that nature, just imagine what it would have been like if he averaged 34 to 36 minutes a game. So these are all the reasons why I'm a little bittersweet about the move, because I'm going to miss having a pool party in D.C. I'm going to miss having a pool party in D.C. As I mentioned in my last video, the Wizards roster right now, while I'm not knocking it, is very international heavy, very internationally influenced, right? And while these players have a lot of skills and things of that nature, they miss the imagination and the creativity to go get a bucket every now and then, like you need in the NBA at the bottom of the shot clock when you're going through a 10-0 run and things of that nature. Well, Jordan Poole was that guy last year for us. Now, he was also the result of a couple of grenade possessions as well, but it's going to be a lot of shots to go around in Washington this season. It's going to be a lot of shots to go around in Washington this season, and I'm honestly curious to see who's going to step up and take that usage. Who's going to step up and take that usage? Because, as I mentioned, I think Bub Carrington was a key deciding factor in this trade. I know CJ McCollum is a hell of a player, has had a hell of a career. I don't expect him to come to Washington and start, and he shouldn't be expecting to come to Washington and start. I think this move was made to give Bub Carrington, the keys to the helm for the Washington Wizards offense in the 2025-2026 season. And I'm not mad at it. While I loved what Jordan Poole brought, and I thought that he could potentially be a lead guard on a playoff contending team, I think Bub Carrington can do just that as well with even more type upside because of the fact that he's 6'5". Because of some of the flashes that he showed during his rookie season. And then when you pair him with a veteran like CJ McCollum, who has very similar play styles as, lead guards who don't apply a lot of rim pressure, who get to their spots in the mid-range and are deadly. We saw Bub start to develop a three ball at the end of last year. CJ comes with that three ball as well. I love it. I love it. That's what you see me knock the move. That's this exemplifies mixed emotions. Bittersweet. Bittersweet. Because I see the vision that Will Dawkins and Michael Winger had for the Wizards. I try to stay away from it every episode, but it's hard to run away from the parallels between the Washington Wizards and the 2025 NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't know if y'all remember, but like 3 or 4 years ago, Al Horford was on the Oklahoma City Thunder roster. These are the ebbs and flows that you got to go through when you're building or rebuilding roster into contention. These are the ebbs and flows of roster construction and roster management that you have to go through. And as I mentioned, not only do we bring in CJ McCollum, who's on the expiring contract, but we bring in Kelly Olynyk as well. Fucking Kelly Olynyk, the Wizards killer himself. I'm going to admit this on camera right now. Kelly Olynyk is the sole reason why I've had nightmares as a grown-ass man due to his Game 7 performance in the 2017 Eastern Conference semifinals. If you know, you know. All OG Wizards fans know. Kelly Olynyk is the reason why the Washington Wizards haven't made a final series, a conference final series in over 50 years. Kelly Olynyk. And now he's a Wizard. Life comes at you in many different ways. Kelly Olynyk was public enemy number 1 for me for about 5. I just got over it. I'm not gonna lie. I just got over it like 2 years ago. When I saw that he couldn't move anymore on the floor and things like that nature, I was like, oh, all right, his time has passed. He's a little washed up. I just got over Kelly Olynyk's Game 7 performance in the 2017 playoff. And now I'm going to be reminded of it every day when he dons that red, white, and blue with the Washington Wizards. Life comes at you in funny ways, man. Life comes at you in funny ways. I was 22. I was 21, about to be 22 in 2017. Kelly Olynyk still gave me nightmares. Now, I know I'm going off on a tangent, but I'm just talking. We just talking through this reaction of Jordan Poole being traded to the New Orleans Pelicans for Kelly Olynyk and CJ McCollum. Saddiq Bey, hey, we barely knew you, my boy. We barely knew Saddiq Bey. Local guy, but never logged a minute with the Washington Wizards, with him recovering from his ACL all last year and didn't him resulting in not playing a second of NBA basketball last season. Getting him off of the books as well. Just to give you a little footnote, I didn't necessarily think that Saddiq Bey ever fit the timeline. Even though he is a younger guy, we did sign him to a pretty decent contract, which shows in itself right now with it being able to be moved now, with him not logging a minute. But with the breakout performance of Justin Champagnie last year, it kind of got Saddiq Bey up out the paint, for lack of better words. But how y'all feel about this move, man? How y'all feel about this move? And I'm not even going to lie. With the foresight of this organization, I'm not even going to try to peg what's their next move. Like I said, they could go big game hunting in 2026 for the 2026 free agents that I mentioned. Or are they gearing themselves up to take on the Paul George contract in a move up from 6 to 3 in tomorrow's round 1 of the 2025 NBA draft? I do not know. One thing that I do know, though, is that we got a lot of veterans in that locker room right now. In a Chris Middleton, who just picked up his player option, in a Marcus Smart, and in a CJ McCollum. And what that's telling me now is that at the beginning of this episode, I said that I'm not sure, but I'm getting a sense that Taylor Youngsters is putting a little fire under the asses of Michael Winger and Will Dawkins. He's saying this 2025-2026 season, this is the last year I'm putting up with that tanking shit. We see it doesn't even result in a guaranteed top 3 pick as a result of the draft lottery. So I think that this front office is putting themselves in a position to be able to be, big spenders in the summer of 2026. And with that being said about the vets in the locker room, I think that they're doing this to get our young bulls, our young core right now accustomed to winning. And what better way to do that than pairing him with NBA champion Chris Middleton, Defensive Player of the Year, former Defensive Player of the Year Marcus Smart, CJ McCollum, who was running the Players Union. I don't know what that has to do with basketball, but we see that he got good relationships. He builds good relationships. And I think this is the last year of that tanking shit. And this is the last year that Ted Leonsis is going to put up with it. So you mix this young core with solid, vets with great reputations around the league. You groom them, for the lack of a better word, for, a winning culture and a winning tradition. And then you start to expect to win in the 2026 and 2027 season. But as I said, it's hella shots to go around right now. So are we going to give Bilal Coulibaly, are we going to give him more on-ball reps as the lead ball handler? Does this open up some time for A.J. Johnson to be the backup point guard, to be the backup one? But I do think right now that Bub Carrington is projected to be the starting point guard as of right now. We are in the eve of the 2025 NBA draft. Everything can change in the next 24 hours. Because we could also look at this move and be like, does this show the Wizards' hand at potentially selecting Jeremiah Fears with the 6th overall pick, point guard out of the University of Arkansas? We heard the scoop from Troy Halliburton last week that he was the only one to have a secret workout or a private workout at the University of Georgetown, in contrast to every other prospect that they worked out. We've been kind of keyed in on Ace Bailey because I think he's a top 5 talent. I don't necessarily think that for Jeremiah Fears, and all of the things that have been tied to, Ace coming to DC or trying to force his way to either DC or Brooklyn in the last couple of days. So we've really been keyed on Ace Bailey. But does this trade show that Michael Winger and Will Dawkins might be leaning that Razorback out of Arkansas to be the lead ball handler of the future? I don't know. I'm curious to see. I'm excited to see. Like I said, NBA draft in a little over 24 hours. I'll be back with more content. I'm going to still try to push that favorites at 18 video out at some point in between now and the draft. But this was the urgent matter at hand. How y'all feel about Jordan Poole being traded to the New Orleans Pelicans for CJ McCollum and Kelly Olynyk coming to DC? The Wizards will have over $100 million in cap space next summer. How we feeling? Are we feeling more positive or more negative about the Wizards than we did 3 hours ago? Let me know in the comments. Infiltrate that comment section. I respond. I love chopping it up with you guys. And I'll check in on y'all on the flip side. Hey, I might be back today. I might be back today with the way they moving and shaking in the NBA. Peace.